Okay, so if you're both a Transformer and G.I. Joe fan, then I think this video you'll end up coming across might be for you after all, because they're just coming out with a bunch of Transformers and G.I. Joe surprises, and I'm one of those people that like both franchises, but I am interested in seeing how they're gonna make a G.I. Joe film, considering how bad the Snake Guy film turned out. Even though the action scenes were good, but the story was not great, to be honest with you. So I think what they can do is reinvent themselves and redeeming themselves by bringing them back with the G.I. Joe characters. And I personally think that's exactly what it needs to happen. So Transformers producer confirmed next live action movie is the crossover fans have been waiting for. So this one is really interesting, so let's get to the story. The long-awaited crossover movie between the Transformers and G.I. Joe is getting closer to becoming a reality. The ending of Transformers Rise of the Beast showed the lead character Noah being recruited by the Joe organization, setting up a link between them and the Transformers. Back in May of this year, Chris Hemsworth was tapped to lead the cast that crossover venture. Now, with the animated Transformer movie in theaters, the franchise is looking ahead to its next live-action venture. Speaking of calendar about Transformers 1, franchise producer Lorenzo confirmed that the crossover movie with G.I. Joe would be the next live-action movie to come from the world of Transformers. Well, we're going again. Subject to success, we're going to do a sequel to this. And there will be an animated version. And it will exist completely separately to whatever we do a live action. The next live action movie will be a crossover, the producer said. Where it would be particularly affected is the fact that we now know what these robots are capable of emotionally in a way. So we're going to have to figure out how to create that room, that we can afford that, and create a story that you can take advantage of that. So one of the things that I'm particularly interested in doing, and we're still in the development phase, so nothing is by any means written in stone, but I think we need to do more now from the robot point of view in the live action, because that's the only way you're really going to get inside of them. He went on to explain the difference between the previous Transformers movies and this upcoming crossover, besides the introduction of the Joes. Transformers 1 gives the Autobots and Decepticons their own agency, separate from the human characters that have been featured in live action films. The franchise is aiming to carry that notion into the crossover. I mean, when you think about it, G.I. Joe is known for a lot of human characters. Transformers has a little bit of humans, like the animation show from the 80s and the 90s, live action. But I think if you put too much of human characters inside of this crossover, I think it's gonna cause a thread between the Transformers and G.I. Joe fans, because we all want to see all Transformers, Autobots, and Decepticons together in one big screen. Not too much of the, human characters. And so if you do stuff like that with the crossover, I think this event might end up being the best one. If you get the right writers for it, Michael Bay can stay being a producer for it, but not directing. So this one is really good. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to see what they have in stores for us. And instead of them reacting to humans or reacting to the human plot, what is their drive has to be a part of that story now, he explained. So it's going to be complicated, because now the hardest thing about a lot of franchise movies is how many characters there are, and the more characters you try to manage, the harder it is to make a bunch of really good ones. You kind of got to keep going, keep it smaller. So we'll be in that process for a while, where we'll start with a bunch of Joes and a bunch of Transformers, and I'll say regular humans. And then you're going to do this. That's kind of where we're at right now, is trying to put a larger thing in place. The trick in this one, like we're talking about here, is trying to find that tone and balance. It's like, well, how much of the Joes do you want? And how much of Transformers do you want? And I think that's the big difference, because Transformers and G.I. Joe have large characters, so it'll be impossible for you to put like all of the characters in one film without even giving them something to do. Give them good one-liners and good script to do. So to me, I believe for a fact that if you do it right, take your time with the project, and just give the human characters small things to do with the Transformers one, but give some characters from the G.I. Joe one with a lot to do, instead of just having them just be in there without anything to do. Because that's the worst thing you can do, is just cast different actors without giving them anything to do. Because if you watch the show and the comics, they have a lot to do. They have a lot to do when it comes to like both Transformers and G.I. Joe, which I personally believe that it's going to happen. So if Megatron does return with a dangerous plot, what does the Cobra thing have to do with the G.I. Joe? Like, can you just imagine both Megatron and Cobra teaming up to try to destroy the Autobots and the G.I. Joes? Like, it's going to be a bloodbath. Like, the Autobots and the Decepticons with G.I. Joe and his people are fighting one another. I really hope that if they really are going to do this, they don't really put too much of the human characters inside of this movie. Because like I said, if you're not going to give them something to do, that's going to be a huge problem, in my opinion. So that was the article. What are your thoughts on this news? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'm going to catch you